All right, I think we're live. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Let me bring up my chat here. Noob, what can I say? Can you all hear me okay? I guess what everybody asks first when they do these things, right? Let me go. I should be live. I don't know. All right. Yeah, there I am. All right. Sorry, folks. Growing pains, learning. It's not my venue. First live stream ever. I'm good at editing and structuring multi-layered stories. So a learning curve. Everything's taken me out of my comfort zone, I think, since I started this. Trish, I'm good. I don't know. Don't say that too soon. You haven't watched how this played out yet. All right. A lot of people showed up. Hey, thank you so much for that. In addition to the nerve-wracking experience of doing my first live stream, it's like, man, does anybody want to hear me talk? You know? So here I am, just a regular guy, not AI. Unless I start doing maybe a Max Headroom Twitch just to get those comments that I love seeing so much that still accuse me of being AI, believe it or not. So yeah, someone can take that and edit that and create and say, see, I told you he was. Right, thank you. Hey, Ethan, Truth and Song is here. Great. Hey, thank you, brother, for being here. I see Trish. Harry from England. You are a legend, sir. You made it. Thank you. Ms. Believer, I'm so glad that you showed up. Calvin, what's up, brother? Good to see you here. Jesus Lord. Seeing a lot of names I'm familiar with. Joyful One. Thank you so much for being here. So I figured it was, I guess, about time. I've been doing this 9 months now, since I'd started a YouTube channel. And I guess I never had a reason to go live, you know. You start this and it's like, was anyone even going to bother to hear what you have to say, right? To watch what you produce, and everything. And, and real quick, if I may, you know, and some of you may have heard this story on various other venues or whatever. But, I was laid off as an engineer in May of last year. That was, I guess, the genesis moment of, starting a YouTube channel. It was kind of a couple things. It was laid off after a 6-year program out here in Arizona. My company was headquartered back east in Boston. The program had came to an end, and they had offered if I wanted to go back east. No, thank you. I'd already set up roots in Arizona. I love the desert. I love the Arizona desert, and so I politely declined and stayed out here. Played Call of Duty for a couple weeks with my son and the crew, and realized, well, I can't be doing that. I kind of just wanted to take some time off. I'd done 20 years active duty in the military. I was Navy and everything, and then had worked, since I had retired in 2009. And so, yeah, I just kind of, took a little time for myself. And that's when the idea kind of hit me to do a YouTube channel. And it was multifaceted, if you will. It was, one, I was laid off. Two, I was quickly becoming a grandfather. I have 3 grandchildren, grandsons, all of them now. And so it was like, well, what are they going to have when they're older and they want to be able to brag to their friends, like, hey, that's my papa, So it was kind of like, let me do some cool stuff, for them to have around, to have. And I guess so then once I kind of decided, like, all right, that's what I'm going to do. Then it's like, well, what kind of format, right? I mean, how are you going to do this? I have no audio video editing, experience or anything like that. I was a computer systems / network engineer. I'd log into layer 2, 3 router switches, Cisco, apply configurations, get systems talking to one another. I mean, a lot of more back end stuff, and nothing to do with video or audio editing or anything. And so, I was kind of playing around, following the first 2 courses of action, being laid off, starting a YouTube channel and everything, and doing it for my grandkids, and then, and then the third thing, it was just like, I had my YouTubers, I'd started watching YouTube like 2004, something like right when it came out, like 5, 6. And I've grown up over the years, with YouTubers that I'd watch all the time or listen to going to sleep, what have you. And but and they're great, to this day, they're great. The ones that are still around, they truly are great. But I had criticisms of each one, as I'm sure most of you, probably do, that, you're great, but man, if you did this, you'd be legend, Um, but who was I? I mean, who was I to tell them anything? I mean, they got, in some cases, millions of subscribers, hundreds of thousands of subscribers. So, I would have just been noise. And so I was like, well, let me take all of those criticisms of probably my top 4 or 5 YouTubers, which I'm not going to mention any names here, but and incorporate, internalize them and incorporate them myself and develop my own format from that. Yeah, and that's where I kind of just started, with the most basic rudimentary video editing software, and had a rather steep, learning curve going from there. If any of you followed the little season series that I'd done, and now with that, you know, right. So me and my family, we've been away. I mean, 2010, I think, is when we started seeing, videos. Scariest movie ever, KJ Osborne. I'll be throwing some names out there. Some might be like, oh my gosh, whatever. But some of these guys have been around for a long time. The old Rob Skiba days and stuff, and everything. And so, but yeah, going off of that, I mean, it was like, um, I lost my train of thought. Yeah. You guys ever heard ADHD kicking in? Yeah, I think I've mentioned that I have it. But so, you know, uh, but back to this, so doing the format, right? And it was kind of like, oh, back to the criticisms, and stuff. I had those other channels, and I kind of did my, wanted to do my own thing, and so. So that was the niche, I guess, in the topic that I wanted to go into that I found fascinating, and it was back to the little season stuff. So, um, you know, I thought I was slick. I don't know. I was trying to be slick right off the bat, right? So I was doing videos, and I found all these topics fascinating, right? I thought I was slick, but check this out. This is an interesting story. So you watch some of my earlier videos, right? I did some stuff like I did star forts, I did orphan trains, and a little known 10-bit orphan trains, my favorite stuff I felt I've done. I love orphan trains 1 and 2. I started really getting kind of theatrically, cinematically creative, I think, around that time. Um, but right. And so in my head, I knew that all of those things, right, half buried buildings, the insane asylums, and all that stuff. I knew that they were all outliers, right, of Tartaria. But in those, I never once mentioned Tartaria, you know. And I remember my son had said something to me, and I'm like, yeah, I know they have to do with Tartaria, but I'm wanting people who ever watch these videos to be like, dude, that's Tartaria, right? So I didn't want to say anything, and then I was going to finish them with a Tartaria video, which I had done, right? So anyway, back on point. A guy many of you know, Jason Jack, he'd come across my orphan trains because my very first video, and I know most of you know this one, was on covering the little season, right? And it was because I'd come across through my wife and son Jason Jack's research that they exposed me to it and it blew my mind. I found it fascinating. So that's what I chose to do as my very first video. Okay. And so then I moved on, and it was orphan trains, star forts, right? And I was doing some other stuff, and I throw some other stuff in there in between, and I'll get caught up in chat here in a minute. I'm so sorry. I'm rambling. This is what you get. um, so so here I'm thinking I'm slick, right? And I'm doing all these peripheral subjects, right? Topics around Tartaria, and Tartaria was going to be my like aha, kind of moment. Well, around the time of Orphan Trains, Jason Jack had come across and seen some of my work, and he'd commented on one video. It might have been Half Buried Building, something like that, and then I saw him. He commented again on Orphan Trains, and I was just like, hey, thank you, I really appreciate it. I'm sitting there at 183 subscribers, man, and I was like, hey, I appreciate it, thank you. And then I think I'd done another video. It was like the third video, and he commented on. I'm like, this guy's watching my stuff, and he's kind of digging it. And so anyway, the collaboration. Then Jason had reached out to me, and we talked and all that stuff, and we launched the Little Season series. And here's the thing where I thought I was being slick, right? And you guys are going to get a good laugh out of this one. I didn't know anything of Little Season eschatology, So here I am doing all this stuff on the outskirts of Tartaria, only to come to find out later, well, all of those, including Tartaria, all can roll up under and fit under the whole Little Season eschatology. And I'm telling you, that moment of realization didn't hit me until I'd already started Little Season. I think I even remember mentioning to Jason, like, dude, like, all that stuff I was doing, I told him this story. I'm like, I thought I was being slick, about not mentioning Tartaria and saving that for my, the culmination of all the other stuff to get people talking about, only to find out I was just scratching the surface. So yeah, I think those of you that have been following me for a while, I definitely see names on here. I know that's been with me right around since Little Season 1, the series. You've seen me grow. I mean, you've seen me progress, and everything, and both skills and directions, that I go, the experimentation that I do, that always comes with risk, but I don't know. I think some of the greatest minds in the world, never got to where they got without experimentation, without taking risks. I've done some really off in between stuff, everything from live action comics to, just full on like animation, and everything. A lot of my work, you'll see that I'll do, I'm an engineer through and through. So I'll do proof of concepts, you'll watch a production of mine, and if you see just maybe a small hint of something new that I tried, that's probably a proof of concept to see if I was able to pull it off or not, to where I would then explore it much further, right, and deeper in a subsequent production. So, y'all have seen me grow like that, and yeah, and it's been risks. I mean, I've lost subs, I've gained some on some of the stuff that I've done. Um, but yeah, life is all about risk, and yeah, and I'm a Histories Mysteries channel. It's something that I said from day one, and kind of what I started out as was doing stuff for my grandkids to be able to grow up and watch, and that hasn't changed. I'm still going to do stuff that fascinates me, that I find very interesting. I think where I'm growing at is I don't know. I like to think outside the box, you know. And I know I'm saying a lot. I haven't looked at chat yet, but I'm wondering how many people are like, dude, how many times you gonna say and unscripted, hey, it's said in the description. um, but yeah, it's maybe like the approach. I like thinking outside the box and taking a different approach on storytelling. You know, from a different perspective. I like juxtapositions on pretty much everything. And Little Season, the series, I like taking old historic paintings, right, and engravings from time period pieces and cutting them up and then dissecting them, but doing it tastefully, right? Not getting stupid with the animation per se, right? Maybe just the sky, the change, behind it or something, with just some very subtle movement, if you will. I believe in that I'm enhancing, but I always like to show the original first, though. I try to do that as much as I can, just out of respect for the art. So I'll do a lot of overlaying where I'll show the original unadulterated piece, and then you'll see some morphing. You'll see me then go into it, right, to bring it to life if it serves the scene at all. But well, that was a little long-winded introduction. And I'm nervous. I told it's my first one, guys. So let me go to chat, right, and see if anything's I'm missing, or if you guys have any questions off of the rapid fire I just threw at you with a bunch of likes and okays and and stuff. Um, hey, Ethan, thank you. You like this format, bro? Hey, thanks. Um, time is short. Grady, he said he did the interview. I did the interview with him. My first and only, probably my only for a while. Integrity is one of my biggest virtues. And Grady had reached out to me. Some of you heard this story too. Back when I had like a couple hundred subscribers, I think I just started Little Season, asking me about interviewing me, about being on his show. And man, it was such an honor. Like, really? And like, who would ask me that? I'm not nobody. I'm still not anybody, But but a couple other people had reached out to me, and I won't mention any names. Some of them are a little bigger, but I told them I was too busy because I was in Little Season. I was still trying to figure out what I was doing, I was still flying by the seat of my pants anyway, and so I said, but I'll keep you in mind, and everything. And so I'd gotten reached out to by a couple folks, and I'm like, you know what? No, I remembered back to Grady, and everything. And so, yeah, he's a great guy and stuff. And so, and he said I was good at this. I'm a natural apparently, but I don't know, with all the ums and okays, and like, I doubt I would last long as a podcaster. Um, San Antonio, Texas. Jeanette, love Jason, Jack, Madeline, leaving Babylon. Yeah, both little season guys. Yeah, Madeline, she's great. She's popped in a couple of my premieres, I think. And I had actually knew of her before Jason Jack even. Leaving Babylon, I had been subscribed to, and it wasn't something little season though. I must have seen something she had done years ago. And it was one of those where I had subscribed and I hadn't followed or I hadn't seen anything lately she had done. Or was the Champ de Mars? I think she covered the Champ de Mars with Lafayette because I did a video on that. And I think I think she was the inspiration. Her research on that Champ de Mars is what it was, and I credited her in that. I always do, and I think she had commented or she had watched that or commented about that. But Madeline, yeah, she's great. I couldn't do what those guys do neither. I mean, just all the research, the in-depth amount of research that they do and that they present when they do their podcasts and everything, and they go for hours. Yeah, they're stronger people than me. I guess it's all relative. They probably wouldn't want to take on the VFX animation and music scoring and yeah, all that stuff that goes into these productions too, I'm sure. Um, but no, yeah, no, they're great. Trish, thank you. Glad you made it. Oh, she's responding to Cherry. The first live stream on this channel. Hey, thank you. Uh, is it Cherry? Trying to refrain from having to put my glasses on. I'm Gen X, man. I have glasses. um, what else? And thank you. Speaking of Trish, and I don't know if I've seen Soldier on or not, but there are moderators for this channel, um, and great moderators too. Trish and Soldier, you couldn't ask for more fair moderators on a channel, especially in the community of which some of the topics, right, that I go into. They're great. They're great folks, and yeah, you couldn't ask for better moderators. So thank you to both Trish and Soldier for Yahweh for moderating. Which leads me, we had our meet and greet. I think there were some pictures posted. I think Barb might have posted one. I know some of the folks that showed up at our meet and greet. We did it 3 weekends ago now. I believe is out here in Phoenix, Arizona, Mesa. To be more accurate, a subdivision suburb of Phoenix. And man, like 15, 16 people showed up, got to meet Trish and Scott. The Daves were there. That's my dog. um, and Sarah Pretty was there. Lacey was there. Another guy named Jason, but he didn't really like that, so he went by Mikey instead. I guess Jason's not a cool name. If he's watching, he knows I'm messing with him. But yeah, it was like 15, I think, 15, 16 people showed up. We had a great time. We hung out, like I was with the group 3-4 hours throughout the whole time the event was planned. And when we left, there was still a half dozen that chose to hang out and was talking at the cabana. I cooked hot dogs and hamburgers for everybody, so I was on the grill and stuff. And yeah, we had a really great time and just talking about anything and everything under the sun. People were sidebarring and stuff like that. And yeah, it was a really great time. Another time that I was really nervous, but yeah, they all made me just feel right at home and everything like that. And yeah, it was just amazing how well everyone got together. Yeah, so we want to try to do that again soon, for sure. Definitely before it gets summer out and we start hitting those 118-degree temperatures. That's for sure. But we had a good time at the meet and greet. And I thank you for everyone for showing up, the turnout that we had. Yeah, Gen X all the way, man. Yeah, Truth and Songs on. I ordered a shirt from him. It has. I don't think it showed up yet, but I don't know, man. We usually don't check mail, but once or twice a week here, so it might be in the mail. But I ordered a shirt from Truth and Song, Ethan, of which we've collaborated with. I've collaborated with him a couple times. I came across him. Giving Ethan a shout out, Truth and Song. He's in the chat. Go check him out if you want to hear some really good mind awakening, just awakening to the truth and what's going on in the world. The music that he produces is really cool. I know kind of goes against brand a little bit that I represent HC Studios as well, but he's a friend. And so, yeah, there's no ego here. And but he does some really cool music. And I had heard his song Mud Flood. And I was about to be doing Little Season Eschatology Series 6, I believe was Mud Flood. And so I was wrapping up 5. I was halfway through 5. And I heard his song Mud Flood. I'm like, man, that'll work perfect, And so I took a chance and I reached out to him and I shared the script with him, told him how the song would be used, and we went kind of over the stuff. And he was more than happy to be like, hey man, yeah, go ahead. I'd love for that, And so you'll hear his song in Mud Flood. And then we just stayed in touch, and I hit him up out of the blue, gave him, I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think I gave you like a week heads up. Oh, hey man, will you produce a song specifically for Little Season Eschatology 9? Oh, Jason made it in. Right on. Hey, Jason, how you doing, brother? So glad you can make it. Thank you. But yeah, so Little Season 9, right? I think I gave him like a week heads up, and I was like, can you make it happen? And, and he's like, man, I would need probably more like a month, but for you, bro, I'll make something happen. So he did the Final Fire. Wrote that specifically for the lyrics and everything for that episode. And so he's been kind of like, I'll be working at like 4 a.m. I'll wake up, I can't go back to sleep, and I'll come in the studio and I'll start working. And I'll have my Red Bull or whatever. And there's days where it's either, I don't know, I want to wake up or I'm in between large productions. I just finished one and I'm about to start another one. And I kind of like to just clear my mind and data dump a little bit. And so Spellbound is another song he's got that has been a favorite of mine, a go-to just put the headphones on and turn the volume up to 11. If you know, you know. I know my Gen Xers know. Turn it up to 11. And yeah, and just jam it. And so we collaborated recently on that. I'd always kind of liked that song from him. And so, I did a music video. And so we recently collaborated on that like a couple weeks ago. But Ethan's a great guy. He's out of Texas too. He's out of Texas himself. What else we got? Let's see. Oh, since Jason's in here, a little bit about the studio, right? Most of you this view and everything. And but that card, that happy birthday, and then the Alabama, the can cooler thing that you put around that I have hanging up there, that's from Jason Jack, by the way. So if you ever guys see some of the stuff that I'll put on the wall behind me, and he has no idea when my birthday is, by the way. I just got that out of the random blue from, and notice it's got a dinosaur on it. So one thing he and I found out is we really have very much the same sense of humor. But so yeah, he sent me that. So that's what that is behind me right there. Yeah, and then my Navy stuff that you guys have seen in my videos and everything. Money from Iraq, and when I was in Somalia back in '93, the whole Black Hawk Down days when that happened. Again, some of the younger crowd. but I don't think I have any younger crowd that really watch me. So I think you all can pretty much relate to that, or know when that time frame was, I guess you should say, um, and everything. So now, right. So I recently did Quadrivium, right? Little season Quadrivium. I wanted to build off of Trivium, not right away, right? You guys saw that Ron Wyatt, which was an interesting one to do, but I wanted to do that. Um, yeah, it's regardless of what people think, right? Like it's a fascinating story that whether dude was legit or not, whatever. There's people on both sides, the claims, man. I mean, it's wild. It's a wild story. I did Ron Wyatt. I did the Mind War, with Aquino, and some ties there. I didn't go full canvas route on that. I didn't want to. I think I wanted to more. Um, I don't know. Get to the depth. Get to the connections. Just that there's connections there. You know. Um, you know. I don't like to speculate per se, but connections and an established history and a pattern. They co-authored this paper together. And if you haven't saw the episode, I apologize. You have no idea what I'm talking about right now. But between Anton LaVey and Aquino and the whole cult and all that stuff, and and the fact that him and the dude that's on the chair of Turning Point USA right now, there's connections, but yeah, so anyway, I finished Trivium, and I kind of just wanted to do some episodes that I kind of found interesting, and stuff, and then I was ready to jump back in Quadrivium, or jump back into Wells again, right, and go to Quadrivium. So Trivium being the ancient Greek school, of larger grammar rhetoric, and it basically was the instruction of, it was like your K through 12 in ancient Greece or whatever back in the day, and it was really about how to conduct yourself in the world, right, or how to live in the world, and everything. And then the Quadrivium was like the arithmetic, astronomy, music, right, and geometry, and that was like the college level education. And that was then, how to prepare for the world was the Trivium, and then how to live in the world, right? How the world works, if you will, was the Quadrivium. And again, me wanting to take a unique perspective and outside the box, and I like to do cinematic, immersive storytelling, was to, present it in much the way I did the Trivium, where I invented H.C. Wells with a Z. I got about over a dozen comments of people wondering if he was real or not, and where they could find his journal, and everything. So, hey, that tells me it was mission success. If I immersed people that deeply into that story, then hey, I guess I did my job, right? I mean, it's got a time machine in it, man. I don't know what else to say, but and so I wanted to went up it a little bit. I was nervous, about the Quadrivium, because I knew that okay, we're going even higher, because I guess what I was wanting to do is tell a little season story, right? Present a little season, you know, view that went deeper than just the surface little season stuff that I know most of my audience knows already, right? I guess it was like, just as I did with Trivium, I made that like 3 layers deep, right? Little Season was the vehicle. That was the medium that I chose to use to convey that story, right? But it was really about Wells, right? It was about a person who was an engineer, right? That he only trusted in what he could observe and measure, and what was repeatable through experimentation, right? Through to reproduce an experiment, right? Science was his God, if you will, and we tracked his, evolution through that trilogy where just, anyone who search for the truth long enough will arrive at Jesus Christ, right? And so I wanted to track his evolution throughout that, and that's how I ended it. Um, and yeah, and if you didn't see the all three parts, or at least the third, but you watched the first one because it had the cool World's Fair stuff in it, you really missed out. That's all I'm gonna say. Uh, the third one, I thought I put some really cool stuff in there. The interlude, if anyone was lost, if that was lost on him a little bit, where he went through the time hole, the wormhole, and everything, and I just let the visuals and the music speak, and what that was to represent and signify is that all of us, well, I would say many of us, I should say rather, that are woken up to the truth, right? We remember how life used to be, right? And then we also remember that moment when whatever it was that hit us, that opened our eyes and removed those scales, how we could never go back to looking at the world through the same rose colored lenses again, right? And what did that do to you? How did you feel when that happened? And you even might have tried to go back to being that person or being, in that world, and you found that it wasn't the same. You couldn't do it no more, right? So you're hit with I equate it to the 5 phases of grief when someone loses somebody, right? You got anger, right? Sadness, bargaining, negotiation, finally you end up at acceptance, because what else are you going to do? And so I called that the 5 stages of awakening, and I wasn't going to put that all in the title screen card or anything like that, because another thing I don't like to do is insult my viewers' intelligence. You guys are able to put stuff together well on your own. So I'll always leave a lot of stuff, open for you to interpret it. And you may interpret it different than I do. But that at least was my intent for the interlude. And it shows that it shows him laughing, then it shows him yelling and screaming, all from within his time machine, and that's basically after everything he's been through in the first 2 episodes of the trilogy, and then up to and including in that third one, he's going through that, and so I wanted to try to find a way to present that, and then he lands back, and I do the dream sequence and everything. And so back to the, I was nervous about Quadrivium because I knew I was going to be getting quite philosophical on that one and everything, and a risk. It was another risk that I took. I know that both Quadrivium 0 and 1 hit people quite differently than the Trivium did, and I'm not abandoning it. It's still out. I still, Quadrivium consists of 4. So there'll be 2 more that'll come, but it's a lot of work. Because back to the Trivium, the third layer I had taken that was not only about Wells' journey, but then it was to reflect Wells was us. We were Wells. So it was 3 layers deep, right? And that you're kind of getting 3, I don't know, bits of context out of that, if you will. And so Quadrivium, I'm doing the same. I won't reveal yet, what, the ultimate end game or my end goal will be at the end of 3 of this Quadrivium. But, it's pretty deep as well and stuff. And that's a lot of hard work. I mean, in between the visuals and the production and assembly of it all, but keeping track of the thoughts in my head and getting them down and organizing them and making sure that I don't stray away, or drift off course. It's taxing. It's very taxing. And yeah. So what did I do? Right. So I'm pivoting a little bit. I'm pivoting in a couple ways. One, I'm doing my first live stream. I felt it was time. 9 months I've been at this. I've not had a day off, not one, since June 1st, 2025. I have not taken a day off yet. And they say if you find something that you love to do, you never work a day in your life, and I don't know, I've really enjoyed myself. And so, yeah, I have not taken a day off yet. And I'll put in 12 to 18-hour days. Um, so, but I think it's catching up to me a little bit, and I needed to pivot because, again, after 0 and 1 of the Quadrivium came out, it combined with the fact that I have been laid off now since May 16th, actually, of 2025, and have been just on savings and everything to launch YouTube and stuff. I need to get back out there. So I need to get back in. I really don't want to be an engineer again. um, that comes with its own burnout, if you will. But I need to do something, and so right. So I needed to pivot for a couple reasons, right? And so the uploads religiously once a week. That I've been on a production cycle pretty much since I've started this channel. I might need to go like 3 times a month, maybe twice a month, so I can make room. I got to continue to provide for my family and stuff. So end of this month, I'm picking up a job. I'm trying to do some, tech support maybe or something remote that I can maybe do. Just a weird pickle, because for some jobs, isn't it a trip? Especially, I know a lot of Gen Xers are on here. You find yourself in life where you're overqualified for things, but then you're underqualified for a lot of other things. Anyway, so yeah, so we'll see what I pick up. Something to do at end of the month, but I have to pivot. I have to pivot because I can't sustain the momentum I've been on. Um, but what that comes with is I want to increase production value of the things I do. They will be way more in depth, story driven, and stuff. And yeah. And so I guess, you know what, with that said, one of the things I pivoted to, let me, if you guys don't mind, and hopefully this works, I'd like to share with you a little bit of something I've been working on that I plan to release next weekend. And so, yeah, back to the pivot to Quadrivium, because it's so much more in depth and I'm trying to find that balance between philosophical and entertainment. Um, yeah, it's just there's a lot going into it, and so I needed to set that on the back burner for a second, and I needed to jump into something else real quick before I then get back to it, because the Quadrivium, I'll just say this, that we know the little season, we know the 1776, we know these things, right, that were put into place, right, and all that. All right, so I wanted to present something that along the old ancient Greek school of learning and thought, right, the way they used to see the world and see things, and how they educated their people, right, and all that stuff, right. What was the underlying framework that needed to be done to bring about those things, right? What facilitated the little season being able to be brought into existence, right? And that was the manipulation, and from at least what I'm trying to present, of number, of harmonics, right, of measurement. And so that's why the Quadrivium got a little deeper philosophical, because again, right, all the big items, right, the mud flood, right, or the year, what year we're in, right, and all that stuff. Like we've seen the videos, we've heard Jason Jack, we've heard folks talk about it, Madeline leaving Babylon, we've heard it, right, but how they pull it off, like really, what needed to be in place, what needed to be facilitated to make that happen. Right. So I guess that's where I'm going with the quadrivium, right? So what needed to be manipulated? The changing of the meaning of number and its relationship, right? What did it used to mean to the ancients versus what did it become? Where it became latitude and longitudes on maps versus used to have notes in the margins where, it had so much more information. Once you reduce the number down to it being a metric to quantify something, right? Then you can change other things, right? So that's the depth that I'm going to on that. But if you all got like 3 minutes, I'd like to share with you kind of something I'm kicking around of maybe doing. So hopefully this works. Let me see if it'll play.
There is a city beneath the stone, a city that has forgotten the sun, where gaslight replaced daylight, and clockwork marks the passage of time that no longer changes. This is a city of routine, of order, of comfortable certainty. But in every ordered world, there is one who asks the question no one wants to hear. What if everything we believe is wrong? Meet the archivist, a man who keeps the city's records.
Okay.
Everything is documented. Everything except the truth.
How am I doing?
Every day he searches, and every day the city reminds him. Some questions are better left unasked.
Still digging through dust,
Archivist.
Hey, look, isn't that the guy?
Looking for your lost world again?
They don't want to know, and perhaps that's the hardest part. Not that they don't believe him, but that they don't want to believe him. Because truth demands something. It asks you to give up comfort, to trade certainty for questions.
Okay, I had to mute myself.
There is a city beneath the stone, a city that has forgotten the sun, where gaslight replaced daylight, and clockwork marks the passage of time that no longer changes. This is a city of routine, of order, of comfortable certainty. But in every ordered world, there is one who asks the question no one wants to hear. What if everything we believe is wrong? Meet the archivist, a man who keeps the city's records. Everything is documented. Everything except the truth. Every day he searches, and every day the city reminds him. Some questions are better left unasked.
Still digging through dust, archivist. Hey, look, isn't that the guy?
Looking for your lost world again?
They don't want to know, and perhaps that's the hardest part. Not that they don't believe him, but that they don't want to believe him. Because truth demands something. It asks you to give up comfort, to trade certainty for questions. To walk alone. $130. They say we've always been here, that the stone above us is all there ever was. But the records tell a different story. The fragments I found, they all point to one moment, one event. (1744). Because if the records are accurate, if what they describe actually happened, then everything we believe is a lie.
All right. Sorry for the sound, folks. Am I back? See if I'm still doing this right. I should be live. Oh, I'm still muted. There we go. How about now? Desktop audio. All right. Test 1 2. Test 1 2. Am I still muted? Test 1 2. Test 1 2. Test Well, it looks like I've lost my microphone.
There you go.
Oh, am I echoing, babe? Am I coming through okay? All right, thank you. All right. So, unless any of you are good lip readers, what I was saying right after that is my apologies. I'm using the OBS software. I didn't want to just go live stream on YouTube because I wanted to be able to show the clip, which the sound may have been all jacked up, anyways. So I'm sorry, but yeah, I wanted to try to make this at least a little more of an enhanced, live stream, and to give you all a sneak peek of what I got working on. So at least the video came through and stuff. And if some of you saw the ending there, the board, you've definitely recognized some things that were on that board. There is some significance to the story and to the 1744 year that I'm basing this around, this story off of. It's steampunk setting. I'm a big fan of cyberpunk and steampunk and of that period in time, the 1800s and everything. So, yeah, it kind of worked. Don't want to give too much away, but I'll tell you that the story has got a twist that none of you are going to see coming. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Um, so back when I was kind of laughing at myself earlier about pivoting from Quadrivium, uh, you know, to try to do something not as quote unquote complicated, I dove into that, and it's turning out to be just as complicated. Not quite as much, but it's a lot of VFX work I'm putting into that. Some of the scenes that you saw there, the reflections that I captured of the balloons across his goggles as he looks out over the balcony railing, um, was like 5 layers deep that I had to just cut, and do each one separately and then recomposite them back together, to get that effect, and stuff. So, yeah. So the city that does not look up, I hope to have it out next Saturday. Is when I anticipate that one coming out. And the soundtrack, I saw Truth and Song. Looks like he'd commented on this song. Yeah, the music, even the background music, and then the official music video that I'm going to be doing. I have the song already created, and it's awesome, and I like it. And so the music video will go up on HC Studios. Um, if you're subscribed over there, be on the lookout for it. I may put that video up the day before the actual showing of the movie. So if you're following us, if you're subscribed over there, you'll get a little bit of a sneak peek of what to expect when the full movie drops. Um, and speaking of which, we do have albums for sale. AC Studios will never be, that's been my promise to you all, is never be behind a paywall. Music that we produce outside of that, though, we'll generate albums and stuff that you can purchase on our fourth wall, our merch shop. Shameless plug, got to throw it in real quick, that we have both apparel, merch, and music. Whereas, you know, a lot of some creators will just still do their merch, right? And, they buy our merch and stuff like that, and it goes into help and whatnot, or super thanks and chats are always nice, always welcome, but I don't know. We like to go a step higher, and it's like, you know what? I mean, why not get something additional, something extra for yourself, right? If you're going to show appreciation for the work or whatever, then get something in return, at least maybe some music, right? That if you like the music, then yeah, that goes to support the channel, and you get something in addition to boot. So all those details can be found in our merch store. Both the music and the merch is down there. Um, so yeah, so that's I guess I kind of covered everything that I wanted to do for this first live stream. Was, why did I start the channel? What kind of brought me on this down this path, and the pivoting that I'm kind of doing, and everything, and and I'll just add one more piece to that, and that was there's a YouTuber that I've watched for some time. I can only wish I'd have the voice that this guy has. His name's Nightmind. I don't know if any of you heard him. He'll cover like ARGs, alternate reality games, get into horror stories and stuff like that. But his voice, man, puts me to sleep. And Nightmind, if you ever do happen to see this video, which I doubt you will, you know, I know you put a lot into your visuals, but man, I fall asleep to you. I only wish I had your voice. But he did a breakdown of a video by a guy named Alex Bale. It was called "Don't Feed the Muse." He's a filmmaker, and Alex Bale he did "Don't Feed the Muse," right? And it was a reactionary film that he had made based off of, he got his rise to fame on doing SpongeBob SquarePants conspiracy videos that went viral, got 15 millions of views, right? Just millions and millions of views. But that's not what he was about. He was a filmmaker. He had done that and it blew up, right? And so, long story short, the SpongeBob videos became his muse that he had to feed, because he tried releasing some of the stuff that interested him and nobody watched it. Nobody cared. And in fact, people made some videos about, hey, just stick to what you know. Do some more of that SpongeBob stuff, you know? And anyway, I'd seen that video by Nightmind. It was a video he'd done like over a year ago, and I had just recently come across it maybe a month or so ago, and I watched it. And although I'm a far cry, I resonated with some of that, and everything, and I was kind of like, okay, noted, And then Nightmind just so happens he released a new video that was so it was about a year and a half apart, and it was basically, make what you will. And it was like a 15-minute video of just being a creator and make what interests you, and stuff like that. So that kind of led to my pivot as well. But if any guys are familiar with him, he's got a great voice, man. He'll put you to sleep. I love it. But that's about it. Then let me check out chat and see if there's some questions that you all have for me that maybe I probably haven't covered in my just over an hour long rambling so far, that if I can answer, I'll be happy to. Let me check in. Oh, Truth, following on Spotify now. Yeah, we are on Spotify. Our music's on Spotify and stuff as well. All the details are in our main productions, and we have the details that are all on our bio on HC Studios. Again, we're the main production. Music videos I make for every main production I do is just an extra added value for you, the subscribers over here. So, but yeah, we have music outside of that as well, that we offer for sale. Steampunk is great. Yeah. The Messiah, the Masanja. Sorry, man, if I'm butchering some of the names. Yeah, I love steampunk genre. And this, what I'm doing with this one, you'll see it all makes sense at the end of it. You'll realize why I went steampunk with this. There's a method behind my madness, I assure you. D-Faith, you're quite talented. I'm so looking forward to this new story. Love the steampunk setting. Hey, thank you. Yeah, thanks. And again, it's a different take on a story that you guys know, but it's a different take. That's it. I'm not giving no more. I'm not giving no more away on that. Massage, maybe you could make some custom jam sounds to videos with the instruments back there. Right, HC Studios. I do some of the guitar work on some of the more rock and songs that we come out with. it's simply, at the end of the day, it comes down to, it's only me. I do not have the time to it's different processes to laying down music, laying down tracks, and getting the sound clean from the amplifiers and stuff, and then developing from there. And managing HC Studios, and I'm building the productions and creating the productions with all the editing. It's too much. I would if I could. I'd love to, but if you go to HC Studios, I did a Screwing Around Humanly Curious song is on there, where I show me jamming with my riffs at the beginning of it, and then it goes into the song that for the riffs. And At the Threshold of Heaven was a music video I had done of a riff I had written a long time ago that I'd always wanted to see turned into a song. Right. On the Humanly Curious one, I'm playing my Jackson Charvel, the black one. And then on the Threshold of Heaven is my signature Dean series, the Tommy Kaza. It's a Tommy Bolin signature Dean right there. The guitars get broken out. And I only was able to get those done because I was in between productions, and I kind of just really wasn't ready to start the new production yet. And so I spent a day screwing around and laid down some tracks and created some songs from those tracks. So they're there. They're on HC Studios. My favorite guitarist, though, is my Black Jackson right there. I've had that since 1992. That's probably my favorite. I've always been a fan of Jackson guitars, so that's my favorite. Let's see. Harry the Barsted Fire t-shirts, bro. Yeah, and with our merch, with our shirts, sure, there may be some one-offs, but we took an approach with our merch too, right? Of just not throwing stuff to the wall and see what sticks. Like, if there was inspiration there, if a production, needed a shirt, then we would design a shirt for it. The one I'm wearing, a Brave New 1984, right? That was, we designed, I think, 3 designs for that episode that I had done. I had a lot of fun with that one. A lot of the productions I make, I want it to resonate with you. If it's not speaking to you in somehow, some way, then I shouldn't have probably made it. Basically, and so that was in response to me seeing the world. Like, you always had 2 sides of the camp, especially Gen Xers, right? Growing up, we're more of 1984, right? No, it's more of a Brave New World. They're opiating the masses, right? And all this stuff, right? It was either one or the other. And as time progressed, I started seeing it kind of a combination of both. Surveillance state while the masses are being opiate, whatever, right? And prescribe stuff. And so I wanted to make that. That was a lot of fun to highlight both schools of thought and everything, because I think it's both, and that's why I titled it A Brave New 1984, because that's where I think we're at as far as that goes. It wasn't one or the other. It's both. Their projection works, right? And they like to put the stuff out there. But to put it out there in a way to get people thinking along one line or the other, and never, because they're going to find out, right? So they take control of the narrative, and then they'll put out, one way. And so if they keep you at least that way to where you can't connect the two, well, then there you go. Anyway, I digress. Jeanette, thank you. Praying for the new job search. Thank you. Yeah, I did, I try to go for like maybe a tech support, maybe remote, because that'll enable me to, maybe do some part-time tech support from home and then still be able to work on stuff. So maybe do 4 hours of that. It's that whole thing of am I overqualified or underqualified, that pickle that I find myself in, that's going to kind of dictate what I'll do or who will take me and stuff. So I'm in just a unique situation there. Cute dog. Thank you. That's my Shih Tzu. He's 8 years old. He's the best dog in the world. But I'm sure every dog owner you'll hear will be telling you the same thing. But I love that little guy. Let's see. Would you like a sax? Man, I couldn't play a sax if yeah, I wouldn't know what to do with it. Saxes are cool, but yeah, I'm more better with strings. Although I started with drums when I was a kid. I've been playing guitar since I was 16, but I wanted to be a drummer, and so I remember I took drums lessons and stuff, and started on drums. Um, I think the first song I learned was the Jay Giles band "Love Stinks." If anybody remembers that one, that was easy. Then I found guitar, and the rest was history. I went straight into guitar from there. Um, Alan Robert, Walmart team lead, 20 an hour, easy peasy. Yeah, I mean, and that's that overqualified, underqualified thing. And because I built cars. I used to build engines when I was active duty Navy. My hobby was building hot rods. Right, I restored I had a '71 T5 Mustang with a 351 Cleveland 4V canted valve heads in it. I had an Iscadarian 460 solid lift camshaft in it. Art Car C6 reverse manual valve body. So I'm not making it up. Okay, the small block Chevy firing orders 1843657 distributor clockwise rotation. I built engines. I raced cars when I was in the military as a hobby on the side, and so I had actually applied for like AutoZone, before, and this is when I was going to take a break from being an engineer. I don't know, it was maybe 6, 7 years ago, 8 years ago. And the guy looked at me, and I had my resume. I was new to me trying to do that. I joined the military at 17. That's all I'd known. And then I became an engineer when I left the military. And he just looked at me. He was like, "We can't hire you," And I'm like, "What do you mean?" Like, I probably know more than most of the people you have working at that counter right now on whether to troubleshoot an alternator's bad, or is it your battery, or is it the starter? Anyway, and but yeah, overqualified. And then and so and then the underqualified. Well, okay, my Cisco certificates and Security Plus and C++, and all of them aren't up to date. And I really had no intention of getting all my certs, CCNA cert, all this Cisco stuff up to date again. So then I'd be underqualified. So, but I thought about like Home Depot, Walmart, just to show people what aisles the hammers were in would be fine by me if that means that I could, be able to make some more ends meet and be able to come home and produce and create for y'all. I mean, that would work, so we'll see. But thank you for the prayers and stuff. And I'll know more at the end of the month. We'll see. I'll try to maybe leave my resume out of it at some of these places and just tell them I'm a retired Navy and I just need a job, I don't care what I'm doing. Any job, honestly, making honest, decent money for a wage, right? And doing work. I'm not above anything. Neither should anybody else. So, yeah. While Bill talking collaboration, what kind of collaborations Bill wanting to do? Yeah, DOG, that's my dog's name. All the above, battery, alt, starter, right? It depends on where it's at. If your alternator's not charging, you slowly run down your battery. But a lot of people will just automatically jump and assume that they got a starter problem. But while Bill, you play. Oh, okay. You play sax? Because if you play sax, I'll tell you what, we can get some 1986 Michael Douglas music playing that you would see at the session musicians did in a movie in 1986. All right, I'm sorry if anybody had any like questions for me. I know I started just going off on another tangent. Thank you, Harry the Bastard, for the 10 pounds. You are a legend, sir. If you guys see how I answered him in the post that I did for this live stream, you'll get that. Ethan, appreciate you, brother. Always thank you for the $2. And thank you for the Curious Gift memberships. Thank you. On that, for those who become members, right, the Explorers is the top tier, and you guys will get like, I'll try to do 24-hour advance of anything that I'm going to premiere or upload. You'll get that. Any new stuff that I'm dropping. And no matter what level of member you are on Humanly Curious, right, that automatically signs you up for HC Studios as well. So if I'm going to, most of the times, 99% of the time, I will not drop music for a production until the day of or the moment the production is premiering is when the music goes live. But in those instances, you'll get access to both. I'll send you guys drafts of intros that I'm doing and be like, hey, what do you guys think of the direction I'm going? Do you have any input? Part of the co-creating process as an explorer, right? Insiders, I'll just be like, hey, do you like it or not? So I engage, as much as I can with our members on the channel. So welcome to the 5 new that we have. So be on the lookout. You'll get posts. I try not to spam you, with stuff. I mean, everyone gets enough notifications as it is, but I do try to put stuff up there. And I thank you for supporting my work. And flute, Ian Anderson style, right on. 7/7/26, end of the little season. Who knows? I mean, and that's CB Ozart, C Bozarts. Just put that in chat. My take on that is, and this is something that Jason Jack, we had discussed, and he's firm on this too. Like, he's not setting any dates, and neither have I, and I think most can agree that that even the 1776, right, whether it was the Declaration of Independence, that wasn't like the go signal, I think that was another call, that was another piece of what when they officially declared independence, right, or what have you. But things were already in motion before that, and things were still being put into motion even after that. And that's kind of going back to the Quadrivium when I release 2 and 3, when I follow it up, We'll kind of point that out, right, and how that came to be, and what made that to be able to come about. So back, there's no hard date. Could it be? Sure. I mean, absolutely, it could be. But I think it's more of a time frame. Plus or minus 6 months. I don't know. But it's definitely, though. I mean, it really depends on when you determine what constitutes a little season. Is it 250 years? I've seen a couple different forms of math done on that. A season, right, being 1,000 years. A day in the Lord is 1,000 years. It's been broken down different ways, many different ways. But some have questioned. I've heard people say, "Oh, well, a little season's actually 100 years or 500 years." So, I think a season, 1,000 years, because then you go at times and a half time, right, for like the tribulation, and 3.5 years. I've heard different people go to different places, right, to piece that together. And I think commonly people assume it's 250 years, but even if it is that 250 years, was that stopwatch started on July 4th, 1776. I don't know, and I know Jason Jack, neither one of us have said definitively, but it is something to be looking out for. Remember, everyone was supposed to have been raptured, I think, October 29th last year, 2025. Was it October 29th? I remember I did a post just checking if everybody was still there. And everything. So, yeah, Jesus is coming back when you think not. Exactly. We don't know. We're on his timeline. He's not on ours. Alan, you enjoyed all this except for the video part. LOL. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Technical problems, but it will be out next week. So, and I promise you, it's going to play in high def 8K, and it'll be on point. So, I was just trying to present to you all a little bit of what I was working on, and first time using the software. So, I will have my act together next time I do this. I assure you. Yeah, Ethan, splitting hairs and time frames and dates will drive one mad. Yeah, I mean it will. You know, um, you know, we're on our own path. I mean, what's the Lord impress upon your heart? I mean, um, you know, I mean, and people that follow the dates and stuff like that too closely, right? You kind of like open yourself up for control, kind of. What's the thing in the news lately, right? That aliens are real now, and there's supposed to be a press statement, and there might have been one. I don't watch the news every day. You know what I mean? This was something I saw on YouTube on a headline a day or two ago, that there was going to be a press release. And a lot of it's just hype, bait, clickbait stuff anyway. So I don't even really watch the stuff, but I saw the headline for it. I saw multiple headlines for it. But, them doing that though, they can just string people along. It's like, okay, is that the Project Bluebeam now? That's what it is. I mean, it keeps you occupied, if you're so fixated on a date. You can't see the forest through the trees. I don't know, for an analogy to maybe put that. Um, put your faith in the Lord. I mean, and what does he impress upon your heart? You know, I like how Paul from You Conspiracy puts it. How long is a piece of string? Yeah. Yeah, he was another one. I did a video on his a long time ago. The Nephilim Clowns. I come across his book. I didn't even know he did anything on Little Season. I came across this Nephilim Clown stuff. And I did a video on it. He actually commented on it. His comment is still there. I pinned it, thanking me for covering his research. So yeah, I know who you're talking about. Um, yeah, pretty much all politics is clickbait, in my opinion. Yeah, I agree. I agree, Allison. All of it. All of it is. I mean, yeah, it all is. You know, president is more of a CEO. Corporation. He reports to somebody. It doesn't matter who it is. Everything's done is being driven, with a particular, purpose and interest in mind, and stuff. So, without a doubt, it all isn't, and none of it is by happenstance. I think, how many times has the conspiracy theorist been proven right now? I mean, more than I can count. So that should say enough right there. Over time, everything that everyone who's actually been awake has suspected is pretty much played out and has revealed itself as truth. you know and then you reflect back, like George Carlin, right? They're in a big club, and you and I are not in it. I mean, we've been told, tongue in cheek, I guess, or maybe they tried to tell us in certain ways, but it's always been that way. um Should make a video about Olaf Jansen and his father's journey to the north. Would be amazing. Camp of the Saints. I've seen that. Someone else, have you ever posted that in one of my videos as a comment? I wonder. Because I had seen that. If it was not you, then someone else had done that. Um, and I'm gonna note that. I'm gonna note that down. Yeah, Olaf Jansen. Because I could see that. I could do a good story. I could do a good storytelling on that one. Yeah, for sure. Um, Politics to keep us up to date. We could prove more if everything wasn't restricted access. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Compartmentalization, I lived it in the military. I mean, it's very effective. And when it's done to the populace, where you don't know everything, yeah, you can see why that is. Right. Um, Restricted access. Yeah. 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 Truth in song. Yeah. True story. Well, I'll tell you what, we've been going 90 minutes. And so I guess that's what, hey, thanks, Trish. You talking about the Olaf Jansen story, Trish? Yeah, I wrote that down. You know, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind check that, looking into that. Yeah, Snowman from Frozen might have to rewatch with the kids, of course. Oh wait, Jen Skaggs. I haven't had anyone tell me they see how I was right. LOL. I'm not going to ever say I told you so. Jan, you don't right. The city that does not look up. The Watch that. That one's going to speak to you. It's going to speak to you all. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Not giving away anything else. Um, but yeah, that's what I'm drawing upon when I say that if I make something that does not resonate with you, then did I really make something worth making? Right? The city does not look up is going to resonate with a lot of you folks. At least that's my intent. It should. Just done in a steampunk way. Um, but there's a story. There's a story behind it. Oh, okay, Trish, right on. Yeah, yeah, that would be yeah, that would be pretty cool to just this the snowy wasteland and yeah, yeah. I get the visions already popping in my head. All right, I'm gonna look into that one. That'd be cool. That's the camp of the saint. I don't know. See, I'm going to research Olaf Jansen. I had never heard that. I'd seen someone had made that comment before in one of my other videos. Maybe it's Trivium or something like that, dealing with the little season, obviously. Um, and yeah, and I just had too much other stuff going on. But I'll look it up and see how I can make it immersive, right, into a story. Um, and again, when I say a story, right? That's just the delivery method that I choose to bring to you all, like much like Trivium, or Quadrivium. It's based in, fact or understood, common knowledge amongst people that are into that eschatology. I don't take away from that. I just create a peripheral, right? A vehicle to deliver the story through, a perspective, if you will. So when I say telling a story, I'd still say if I covered this, it would still be true to it. I would probably just create a vehicle around in which to deliver it, other than me just talking to you, you know, reading it to you, if you will, make it more a cinematic, immersive experience. That's what I enjoy doing. Um, uh, the giant tree cooking, making fried potatoes and steak. I grew up in Ohio. I'm a meat and potatoes guy all the way. Shambhala Agartha, Wild Bill. That's Inner Earth, right? Actually, yeah. And going back to see, does not look up. I don't touch upon that per se, but it touches upon that. um, and Mexican food, Trish. Yeah, yeah. It's amazing growing up in Columbus, Ohio, in the 70s, and I joined the military in 88, 89. But yeah, had we only known of tortillas and stuff in Ohio, like, man, my life could have been so different. It was meat and potatoes. I mean, growing up there. And it wasn't until I came out west and left Ohio for the first time that I got exposed to so much different food. Um, yeah. Now, yeah, everyone's had tortillas in Columbus, Ohio, but in 1985, no, that wasn't how people ate back east. Um, that's for sure. My life would have been so different. I love Mexican food. That's my favorite food now. Crawfish boil. Right on. Right on. Well, hey, I want to thank you all for joining me. It's hour and a half, 90 minutes. I was going to take this too long. And to make up for the technical difficulties I had at the beginning, I just want to thank you all for taking time out of your Saturday to be in here. First live stream, definitely have lessons learned that I'm going to document at the end of this. Again, engineer, so I don't make the same mistakes again. Um, but I want to try to, let me guys know what you think, of a live stream, event recurring at times. I know it was nice for me to have this little bit of downtime, if you will, to do this instead of releasing a production today. I kind of needed this. I needed this break just to connect with you all and talk um, and everything, and just take a break from production for a minute. I've been pushing myself pretty hard, and so this was fun. This was fun to do. And if you enjoyed it, and I'll think of a format that where I'm not flying. I guess it won't be scripted, but somewhere maybe I'm not flying so much by the seat of my pants like I did on this one. Work out the tech, the kink, the technical issues, obviously. But let me know what you guys think, and then this would be a nice break in between productions or something to do. See what you guys thought about, maybe the last couple, say, I'd put out, and what would you guys like to see, done, in the future. I do listen to your guys' advice. I've done a few videos based off of your all's recommendations so far. Um, but the risks, I'll keep taking them. The Eisenhower thing I did with a film noir detective vibe, where I did, cut scenes where our detective was kind of uncovering the stuff as well. All of that stuff paved the way for the stuff that I did later. That actually paved the way for H.C. Wells, believe it or not, to be born. Was me doing that video on the Eisenhower alien treaty. So, right. So I'm going to keep experimenting at doing things, and obviously revisit though the things that I enjoyed doing. And I'd like to do a live action comic like the Lost Tribes of Israel, the Tribe of Dan. That was kind of fun. I wouldn't mind doing a live action comic again in a story. Got to be the right kind of story, obviously, but we'll see. But but yeah, just pivoting. That's it. Humanly Curious isn't going nowhere, and in fact, we're still just getting started. If it's not a weekly upload, and it's 2 to 3 times a month, the productions are going to just be that much better. The City That Does Not Look Up is turning out to be the most comprehensive thing I've done yet. Um, I don't do AI slop. I don't, and I never will. I put at the end of my videos and in my music videos, you'll see the manual VFX compositing work that I do. Do I use AI? Yeah, I'll use it for certain animation sequences and whatnot. But I like control of my scenes, and I try to make them as clean as possible. And AI, it's slop. You're not going to get it with that. Unless there's some high dollar stuff out there that's too rich for my blood. I'm not going to do it. You know what? There's no, I don't know. There's really no art behind that anyway. I don't feel, if you can afford that top dollar AI stuff, I don't like watching it myself, to be honest with you. I like being able to create depth and create layers and contrast and juxtaposition and stuff. So, yeah. So anyway, this is probably, yeah, it's taken me 2 weeks to do. So that I'll let you know how it's going to turn out. So anyway, thank you all so much for being here. Um, Hopefully I shut this off right. If not, you'll see my webcam on. You'll probably be able to stare at a wall for another hour before I finally realize it. I don't know. We'll see. But hey, thank you so much, y'all, for being here, and look forward to doing this again real soon. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Trish, for being here and moderating. And again, thank you, everyone, for showing up. You all have a good night and a good rest of your weekend. This is Humanly Curious. Out.